Russia responded to Wednesday's announcement that the U.S. and Germany will be sending high-tech battle tanks to Ukraine with a deadly missile barrage, killing at least 11 people. Let's bring in Defense Priorities Senior Fellow, retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis. Colonel, it's always great to see you. I want to play President Biden from March of last year, and then we'll talk on the other side. Watch.
The idea that we're going to send in offensive equipment and have planes and tanks and trains going in with American pilots and American crews, just understand, and don't kid yourself, no matter what you all say, that's called World War III.
And yet here come the tanks. And the question is, what do you think about this administrative 180? And are the fighter jets next in line?
Well, it's hard to say that they wouldn't be. Because everything else that used to be a red line and used to be, foreboding, basically now is on the table or on the way to Ukraine. And that really raises a big question. One of my big concerns with all this is that we have not heard from the White House what their strategy is. What is the end state here? What are we trying to accomplish? And if the answer is, we're going to help Zelensky as long as it takes, which is the only thing they've said so far, well, then you have to ask, in order to do what? To drive Russia out of Ukraine? Because, look, that is the red line that I think that we have justly concerned about, because I can't imagine any scenario that Vladimir Putin would allow his forces to be physically driven out by NATO supplied equipment to the Ukraine and not resort to nuclear weapons. And we need to know what the White House's plan is to mitigate against that concern. Now, it's fine to help Ukraine defend itself, and that's what we've done from the beginning. But we owe it first to the United States national security and NATO security not to expand this war.
You talk about United States national security, and I wonder, while we're giving Ukraine first-generation weapons, I'm wondering if you're concerned about readiness, about equipment readiness and people readiness. If something were to happen like China goes in and invades Taiwan, if we chose to, would we be ready to respond, Colonel?
Well, I mean, it can't help but have a negative impact on it. I mean, now then we've added 109 Bradley fighting vehicles, 90 Stryker vehicles, a large number of M109 self-propelled Paladins, howitzers, and now then M1 tanks. And look, there's no reason to think this is the end of the line. These things have continued to grow over time. And, of course, there's millions of artillery shells and rockets and everything else that we would need if we get into a fight. And those things are definitely, they're coming down. And at some point, our security has to be at least as important as Ukraine's security to America.
I'm wondering what you think, as I listened to some experts today who believe that by giving Ukraine these M1 Abrams tanks, that this will maybe shorten the war. Others believe this could lead to a protracted war. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there's no chance. Look, a 1 battalion of M1 tanks and maybe 2 or possibly even 3 battalions of Leopards from Germany, that's not going to be decisive. Look, Ukraine already has about somewhere around 1,000 of their Soviet tanks, and these are improvements on that, but they're not game changers. And I'm just telling you, there's a lot of negatives that goes along with all of these positives from the NATO equipment, and we won't have time to get into it here, but just know that they are not game changers on the field, especially in the numbers we're talking about and in the time frame we're talking about.
Now, we talked about fighter jets, and you said you wouldn't be surprised. Do you expect us to actually bring in fighter jets to do maybe the no-fly zone that they said was off the table just 7 months ago?
Right. I'm sure that the president would say no American pilots are going to be in there. But, I mean, as soon as we had these tanks announced, Zelensky was immediately back saying, OK, I need those F-16s and we'll fly them and all that. But, at some point, you've got to say, where is the line? And is there a line? And right now there doesn't appear to be one. And so there's no reason to think it's off the table is the bottom line.
Yeah, there does not appear to be a line. Colonel, thank you for your time. We appreciate it as always.
Always my pleasure. Thanks, Trace.